Welcome to Audio Story. I woke up in a cold, sterile room, the smell of antiseptic filling my nose. My head throbbed, a dull, persistent ache that seemed to pierce right through to my thoughts. I tried to move, but my body was heavy, uncooperative. The last thing I remembered was the sharp pain in my chest, like someone had torn my heart out, and the familiar face of my wife, Sophia, standing in front of me. But that wasn't all. Something else had been there too. A shadow. A figure I didn't quite recognize. And then, nothing. When my eyes opened fully, I saw her. Sophia. She was sitting beside my hospital bed, her hand gently holding mine, her face a mask of concern. Her eyes were red, as though she'd been crying. For a moment I almost believed it. Her act of perfect care, her soft voice soothing me. But then she spoke. "Darling," Sophia whispered, her voice trembling. "I'm so sorry you had to see that. I should have kept it from you. I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I stared at her. The words she said didn't match the image I had of her, the woman I thought I knew. I wanted to believe her, wanted to let myself drift back into the comfort of her lie. But the memory was like a knife in my gut, twisting deeper with every passing second. I knew what I had seen. Sophia and I had been married for 10 years. We'd built our life together in a beautiful apartment in Berlin. I was a successful financial analyst, and Sophia had worked her way up in the competitive world of luxury hospitality. We were the kind of couple others envied, perfect on the outside, with no sign of the storm brewing beneath the surface. At least that's what I thought. Lately, though, things had felt tough. Sophia had been distant, distracted. I'd chalked it up to her demanding job, the pressure she faced at the hotel where she worked. She was climbing the ranks, and I admired her for it. But at night, when she came home, something about her was different. Her eyes always seemed lost, and her laughter didn't reach her eyes anymore. I should have seen the signs. The late nights. The half-empty bottle of wine on the counter when I got home. The way she would glance at her phone and quickly hide it when I entered the room. But I ignored them. I trusted her. I thought we were happy. It wasn't until that night, the night, that everything shattered. I had come home early from work, my day finished with a strange, gnawing feeling I couldn't shake. When I entered our apartment, I noticed Sophia's coat was gone, her bag absent from the hallway. But there was something else. Something I hadn't expected. The faint sound of voices coming from the bedroom. I should have turned away. I should have respected her privacy. But something pulled me toward the door. An invisible thread that led me to the truth. I pushed the door open, just a crack, enough to peer inside. The scene I witnessed is one I'll never forget. Sophia was on the bed, her clothes strewn about the floor. She wasn't alone. The man beside her had his back to me, but I knew instantly who he was. Matthias. A colleague from her hotel. Someone I had seen a few times at social gatherings. Always charming. Always just a little too close to Sophia. I dismissed it as nothing, thinking he was just being friendly. But now, watching them together, it hit me like a freight train. Sophia's eyes were closed, her breath shallow as she kissed him. The connection between them was raw, passionate, something I couldn't deny. And the worst part? It wasn't just physical. There was something deeper in the way they moved together. A comfort, an intimacy I'd never shared with her. The world seemed to stop, the sound of my own heartbeat louder than everything else. I couldn't look away, frozen in place, unable to process the horror unfolding before me. But then, everything went black. When I woke up in the hospital, everything felt like a dream. I was numb, disconnected from the reality of the world around me. Sophia's words, her apology, they didn't make sense. They weren't real. How could they be? I wasn't sure how long I lay there in that hospital bed, my thoughts swirling like a storm. The scene in the bedroom, the rawness of it, played on a loop in my mind. I couldn't shake the image of Sophia's betrayal, the face of Matthias burned into my brain. Sophia sat there beside me, waiting for me to say something. But I couldn't speak. I couldn't even look at her without seeing them together, their faces twisted in pleasure. The woman I had loved, the one I had trusted with my heart, had just ripped it out and trampled on it. And the worst part? She expected me to forgive her. You don't need to explain, I finally said, my voice cold, detached. I know what happened. Take a moment to breathe. This journey is intense and I know it's hitting deep. If you want to hear more about how our protagonist confronts the painful truth and rebuilds his life, subscribe to Lauren's story. You won't want to miss the rest of this emotional journey as it unfolds. Ready? Let's dive back in and see what happens next. Sophia flinched, her eyes welling up with tears. Please, darling, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to go this far, it was a mistake. I wanted to scream, I wanted to throw something, to make her feel the same pain that was coursing through me. But I held back, I knew better. Instead, I just stared at her. A mistake, I echoed, my voice tight with bitterness. Do you know how long it takes to break a marriage like ours? How much effort it takes to destroy something beautiful? But something unexpected happened as I lay there in that sterile room. As Sophia continued to apologize, to beg for my forgiveness, I realized I didn't feel anger. Not in the way I thought I would. No, instead, there was a calmness, a clarity I hadn't had in a long time. I didn't feel sorry for myself, I didn't feel like the victim, I felt free. Free from the illusion I had lived in for years, free from the love that had always been one-sided. And that's when it hit me, the realization of what I needed to do. I would make Sophia regret this. Not with shouting or accusations, no, that wasn't my style. I would take a different approach, a calculated, intelligent one. I knew exactly how to get revenge, and it wasn't just about Matthias. It was about the life we had built, the image we had both worked so hard to project. The one that was now shattered beyond repair. But I wouldn't let her get away with it. Not without losing everything. Over the next few days, I went through the motions, pretending to be the man who had been broken. I allowed Sophia to think that I was lost, that I was confused, unsure of what to do. I listened to her excuses, nodded at her tears, and said nothing. But as the days passed, I quietly began working on my own plan. I contacted Matthias' wife, an innocent woman, caught in the web of his lies, just like I had been. I told her everything, leaving no detail out. The texts, the hotel rooms, the lies. I painted a vivid picture of the betrayal, but I didn't stop there. I contacted Sophia's colleagues, her superiors. I subtly whispered in the right ears, hinting at the things she had done to climb the corporate ladder. The underhanded tactics, the backstabbing. And then, just when it seemed like Sophia's world was falling apart, I made my final move. I filed for divorce, taking everything. The apartment, the savings, the life we had built. But it wasn't the money I wanted. It was the control. Sophia's tears, her pleas. They meant nothing now. The divorce was final. Sophia was left with nothing. No man, no career, no reputation. And while I watched her life unravel, I felt nothing. Not joy, not satisfaction. Just an emptiness that had been replaced with something even more important. Freedom. And in that moment, I realized that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't what you do to the other person. It's about taking back your life, your sense of self, your dignity. As I walked away from the ashes of my past, I heard a familiar saying echo in my mind. The greatest revenge is living well. Thank you for being a part of this story with me. If it moved you, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Lauren's story. I've noticed many of you who enjoy these stories aren't subscribed yet. By subscribing, you're not just following a channel. You're becoming part of a community that values deep, meaningful storytelling. Let's continue exploring these heartfelt journeys together. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss our next story.